start with a prayer. Hello, Reverend Susan, how are you today?
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
I'm here today on behalf of the Methodist Church. Methodists are known as enthusiasts. We're enthusiastic about faith and seeking God, but also enthusiastic about issues of community and social justice. John Wesley said, if God is invisible to our eyes, we are to serve God in our neighbour, which God receives as if done to God in person, standing visibly before us. Join together in prayer. Today, may we listen, reflect, and pray. Today, may we express our gratitude for life. Today, may we remember and honour the pain and dignity of each other. Today, may we create more beauty in our world. Today, may we serve our neighbour and work for the common good. Today, may we receive and give love. Today and every day. Amen.
Thank you very much. Right, so the council meeting for Thursday, 26th May is open. And I want to start just by acknowledging, I don't see, you just arrived, I just want to acknowledge Aaron Lehman, who's just arrived, because he won a very important award in the media industry over the last week, which was the Regional Reporter of the Year. Well done, Aaron. We sort of treat you as our own and you're part of the family, so it's a great accolade that the city can share, so congratulations. And also, for those of you who don't know, the Waikato Times won, I think I've got this right, the best newspaper of the year for their category, so pretty outstanding and another example of how successful and wonderful Hamilton is, so well done. Even though we don't always agree, of course. All right, so start the meeting with apologies. So I have apologies from Councillor King and Councillor Wilson and from the Deputy Mayor for lateness. I'll move those. Seconded by Councillor Young. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Confirmation of the agenda. Now the agenda is as is. Just reminding councillors that you received some additional information separate to an item in the public excluded, and also you will have on your desks when you arrive an amendment to the council minutes in relation to the failure of our System Info Council to collect and pick up the right resolution. So I know the Chief Executive is listening when I say that. So we'll correct that when we get to that. Otherwise I'll move the agenda, seconded by Councillor Tooman. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Right. Declarations of interest, any? No? Right, public forum. So we have 4 speakers in the public forum. Now we're going to start with Justin Walker, who's speaking in relation to item 8, and I have said to Justin that we would allow him 5 minutes for his subsection, and he's also got, I think, a PowerPoint that he wants to show first. So Justin, come on down.
Well, Your Worship, the Mayor and City Councillors, thank you very much for taking the opportunity to listen to us or to listen to our plight today, and we appreciate your valued time. Look, we're talking about the safe right-hand turn from Huntington Drive onto Wairiri Drive. So Huntington consists of, sorry, I'm just going to see PowerPoint. Here we go. Huntington consists of about 610 homes. They're bound by Wairiri Drive and Gordonton Road, with 3 exits, one of them which is being Darjon onto Gordonton Road, and 2 others, which is Huntington Drive East and West onto Wairiri Drive. Okay? I'll go through a little bit through the history. Huntington residents first met with Fulton and Hogan staff, Hamilton City Council staff, and a community forum way back in 2008 at the St Albans Hall. At that meeting, prior to the opening up of Wairariri Drive, residents expressed concern about being able to turn right to move to the local amenities, the city libraries, Chartwell, Rototuna, before the road was opened up. And there were City Council members at that forum. Wairariri to Hukanui Gordonton Road section was opened in December 2012, and right from the very onset there's been a long or strong community focus along trying to get the design of the intersection improved. We've been asking for a safe right-hand turn from the beginning. Back in 2014, a petition was collected amongst the community. There was an overwhelming level of support and concern about the intersection, and we collected 507 signatures in a matter of only a few days or a few weeks with very little effort or time. There was 100% unanimous support from all those that were approached, and this petition was presented to Council in November 2014. It was read at a meeting on 24th of February 2015, where there was some approval put forward to a minor safety improvement. Wairariri Drive traffic is continuously increasing. The success of the Hamilton City Ring Road is a testament to the City Council and a great effort and a great work to keep people off the urban arterials, and it's been a great effort. Unfortunately, it's left us as a community very isolated, and it is very, very difficult for us to get out of the community, and like I said, we've expressed this concern for a long time now. I'll move on a little bit. The budget that was passed last year was very specific that it was the Wairariri Drive, Huntington Drive West intersection petition for improvements. We sort of feel now as a community that there was one very distinctive part that was missed in that, and that was that it should have been for a safe right-hand turn included in it. I'll move on a little bit here, and look, our concerns and our questions relating to this have continued the same the whole way through, is that we continuously keep referring to a safe right-hand turn more than just pure safety improvements. If you look at things holistically, if we take all the cars off the road, we stop accidents. But obviously there's going to be an enormous amount of resistance against that, so some compromise has to be reached between the community and what is safe and feasible for the intersection design. The council have proposed, or the council staff here today have put forward a recommendation for Opus Option 1 to be approved and pushed forward. Back in April, we raised concern to the Opus report, and we asked questions about a few specific things in that. Neither in April, nor on the 4th of May, or even last week when we presented the information to the city councillors, have we had one response or answer to any of the concerns we have. If you just take a look at this illustration here, the yellow car parked at a 30-degree angle in the middle is isolating the view of the approaching yellow car above from the west direction to the red car. So the red car can't see when to safely turn because it's isolated view from the red car, from the yellow car in the middle. Furthermore, the red car is also isolating the view of that car waiting in the middle to see approaching traffic from the east. It's also proposed in the Opus report that this is a stacking bay and that more than one car can wait in the middle there. But there's no designation, there's no road markings, there's a huge amount of confusion for ourselves as residents about where and how we do that. And if you do have 2 to 3 cars parked in the middle there, who moves first? Because theoretically you give way to your right, but the right car is blocking view of the left-hand car from actually seeing where to go. So it creates confusion from the outset, and we're very concerned about many questions that we have raised. And we see that they're legitimate questions that need to be answered before any motion is pushed forward to put this into place. Finally, I suppose the last question that we had there on that slide was asking, where has this design ever been used successfully, or does anybody recall it having been used like that anywhere in the roading structure in New Zealand? Because I'm unaware of ever seeing an intersection design such as that with a car sitting in the middle at a 30-degree angle. On the last slide here, I'll bring it up, is the Hamilton residents' proposed option. It's closing the right turn into Huntington completely. It's a small inconvenience to ourselves, but it's infrequently used, and we're more than happy to forgo that right turn so that we make the right turn out safe and feasible. We're asking not for a full slip bay and acceleration lane in the middle, but mere a waiting zone where all vehicle types can wait. We want buses, we want vehicles being towed with taking rubbish to the tip on the weekends, everybody to be able to safely use that position in the middle to hesitate and wait, use their revision mirrors, and when the way's clear from that white car moving westbound, can pull out safely. Okay? Look, I'll go on and look, I suppose it really just comes down to the fact that over the last wee while we have raised many concerns. We want these concerns to be answered properly, some good resolution to come forward from the staff, and to actually give us good logical reason as to what's the best option. We feel that things have been a little bit biased, and we would very much appreciate, I think it's Councillor Yong's recommendation that we have a working party that works cohesively together to come up with a clear solution.
Okay, thank you very much for that presentation, Justin, and for your PowerPoint. Just a couple of, well, probably only time for one question. Councillor McPherson, you go.
Actually, Councillor Forsyth was before me.
Oh, right, sorry. Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Councillor. Yes, look, you obviously have a lot of technical suggestions in here, and you've obviously done a lot of homework. I'm interested to know, what are your credentials around traffic?
Very little. We've got a few residents within the community that have a little bit more experience than myself. I've had to learn a great deal and do a lot of research to come up with this. I've spent hundreds of hours compiling the data, and I've spoken with many consultants at NZTA, independent consulting firms around other parts of the country, talked with friends and family and people that I know to get some solution.
Okay,
I've also just
you're
reviewed,
not actually a traffic person?
No, I'm not a traffic person. I'm a layman.
Yeah.
But look, I've looked at other guides around, like the Safer Journeys Guide, which is published by the New Zealand Ministry of Transport, and look, some very interesting things. If I just had the opportunity to answer a couple of those in there. One of them was a guide for engineers. This is for the City Council engineers to actually utilise as a guide for road designs moving forward. And a really interesting view that it has in the back of this guide is it says, what does it mean for engineers? The safe system approach recognises engineers, planners, fleet managers, asset managers, enforcers, utility providers, road users and communities, to name just a few, as system designers of our roads and roadsides. We all share responsibility for creating a more forgiving road system.
All right, Councillor McPherson, I'll take one question from you. Thanks.
Quick one.
Yep.
Quick one on that there.
Yes.
I take it when you say you're willing to forego the right turn
Into
say,
Huntington.
Yes. That you're expecting, say, that white car would, if it needed to turn right, would just go down to the roundabout 100 metres away and come back.
Absolutely correct. The difference between the two is the inconvenience of two things, is that anybody wanting to turn right into the community can turn right at Huntington East intersection, or if they got to this point here, like that white car, I use it twice a day because I just park in Rangawarre to pick my son up from school and walk through the gully at Hukanui. So I would just travel an extra 300 metres to the roundabout, around the roundabout, turn left into Huntington. It's only a 380 metre inconvenience, as opposed to an alternative when it's difficult to get out is 3.6 kilometres to Gordonton Road and back again. So it's a small forsake that we're letting go to enable a much safer right-hand turn.
Thanks.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, just one last thing, Jimmy, if you don't mind. Residents here from Huntington that are here supporting our idea together, if you wouldn't mind just be standing or raise your hand. We had a community meeting last week with more than 100 residents attending, and there was a unanimous support from the residents that this is the design we want and that we've been asking for from the outset.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, the next speaker is Warren Stace, and Warren is speaking on item 9. Welcome along, Warren.
Your Worship and Councillors, I've indicated in a letter submission to Council that I fully support the Council's intention to add the 5.1 hectares of land as indicated in the public notice to Waithakariki Natural Heritage Park. I also support the intention of Council in terms of the Reserved Act 1977 to classify the 5.1 hectares area as local purpose natural heritage park. My reasons for this support is that I consider the addition will overall enhance the park's conservation project and program and contain or reduce other impacts such as stormwater management or water quality. Landscape aspects will be and can now be addressed sympathetically. Historically, through my membership of Tui 2000 Incorporated, I've been involved with the Waithakariki Park concept for many years. In 2002, I recall Tui 2000 compiled a video presentation and I produced a sample brochure as a handout. At about that time, 2,000 members promoted the concept to Hamilton groups. The brochure produced before Council formally finalised the concept, pictured the 5.1 hectare land as part of the total. To me, it now feels right that the additional area makes for a whole and integrated land area for Waiwhakariki Natural Heritage Park. I'm appreciative that Council is taking this procedural action to create the reserve and classify the land in this manner. Council has made a very large contribution in land terms alone to this project and is to be congratulated for this decision. Council's consideration of this support is thanked.
Right, thank you. Are there any questions for him? No, thank you very much for coming and speaking to us.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Professor Clarkson, who's also speaking on item 9. Welcome along, Bruce.
Hello, kia ora tātou. Your Worship and elected members, thank you for the opportunity to speak today on item 9, Waiwhakariki Land Declaration as Reserve. I appear today as the Chair of Waiwhakariki Advisory Group, comprised of all the signatories to the MOU, Hamilton City Council 2000, University of Waikato and the Waikato Institute of Technology, and as the University of Waikato representative. The advisory group to council for this WAG is the advisory group to council for this nationally and internationally recognised project, which is rebuilding the main ecosystems of the Hamilton Basin in the city to bring Indigenous nature back into the city and enjoy all the related benefits that brings, such as mitigating climate change through carbon sequestration, recreational opportunities, health opportunities, social cohesion benefits, all of those benefits, and providing another visitor attraction to complement our precious Hamilton Gardens and Hamilton Zoo. Today, we wait your final confirmation of the return of the land to the original parcel as open space reserve, a keeping of the faith with your partners assembled here today. We note that all submissions received on this matter were in support, all 20 submissions were in support of this final and historically significant declaration as reserve. All of the partners and the Tainui spokesman, Tim Manuko, have reconfirmed their support. We respectfully request that the vote today is unanimous. We value the considered critique that has been offered by several councillors, including Andrew King and Rob Pascoe, during this process, but we are now strongly focusing on the future. We have already begun planning to enhance our fundraising activities, to speed up the planting plan, and to more quickly reach the point where this magnificent and innovative natural heritage park can be opened to the public. We are also working closely with Parks and Gardens staff to develop an exemplar integrated constructed wetland at the Western Valley bottom to further enhance water quality gains from revegetating the catchment. We are all looking forward to Arbor Day in the park on the 3rd of June 2016. The plan is to plant 20,000 plants, and already 1,800 attendees have confirmed. Behind the scenes, the partners are helping the Parks and Gardens staff in the setup required to make this event work efficiently. There could be no more fitting culmination to this long debate than to have everyone there on Friday the 3rd of June, start time 10 a.m, working together to get those plants in the ground and thereby exceed the 25 hectare threshold, or 50% of the planting undertaken 12 years after the first planting on 19th of September 2004. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou katoa.
Okay, thank you very much, Bruce, for that. Very good, thank you. Next speaker, Kimball Putney. Hello, Kimball, how are you?
Very well, thank you. Your Worship, Councillors, thanks very much for the opportunity to speak to you today. I speak first for Tui 2000 as our President, Lynn Garnham, is not able to be here today. Tui 2000 strongly supports this proposal. Under TUI's Memorandum of Understanding with HCC, covering the development and management of the park, TUI has been a partner in the scheme from the beginning, raising funds for plants and signage for the park, among many other things. As well as this fundraising, subgroups of TUI work regularly in the park, planting and maintaining, and members grow infill and enrichment plants at Tamahiri Nursery. The Council's visible continuing support to the project by adding this land to the reserve will help TUI secure future funding. Even in its current state of development, Waiwhakariki has been recognised internationally for its innovative approach to ecological restoration. The park you see today is the result of thousands of hours of voluntary work, fundraising and research by the project's partners and Hamilton residents. Adding this land to the park is a vote of confidence that will encourage even more volunteers to work in the park and will give the project partners a strong message that HCC is right behind their work. For its part, TUI is committed to strengthening its efforts to see this extra land incorporated into the planting program as soon as possible. The enlargement of the catchment area will help alleviate the impact of runoff from roading and residential spaces adjacent to the lake and will enhance improvements already showing in the lake's condition. It is TUI 2000's dream to see this invaluable asset open to the public as soon as possible, both as a resource for Hamilton residents and as a boost to tourism. It will take its place alongside such attractions as the Moonga-Tautri Ecological Island, the proposed National Wetland Centre, and of course our own Hamilton Gardens and Hamilton Zoo. Speaking briefly in my own right, I also support the proposal to declare this land reserve. The addition of this land to Waiwhakariki Natural Heritage Park will bring many benefits, among them that it will increase the area restored to natural vegetation, providing additional habitat for fauna and reducing edge effects. It will increase the buffer distance between the existing residential development and the lake. It will increase the area of the lake's catchment in natural vegetation, with consequent water quality benefits. It will reduce the risk of wastewater contamination to the lake. It is likely to make construction of the proposed through path cheaper and easier by enabling its location on mineral soils instead of peat. In sum, I believe declaring this land reserve will be an excellent decision that will bring long-term benefit to the wider community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Right, that brings to a close the speakers in the public forum. So next item is item 5, the council minutes for the 28th of April 2016. Now, this is the one, council's on page 18, where what's recorded there at item 14 on page 18 is incorrect. It was picked up from the computer system incorrectly, and the correct wording is the wording in the sheet that you were provided with on your desk. So I will move those minutes, and second to Councillor Young. Yes, Councillor Mallett.
Can I just ask a question? There is a page 7, beg your pardon, regarding the voting board. The
Yes.
Chief CEO was asked to report back on potential options updating the voting board. Did we put a date on that? So it's a public forum, action point coming out of the public forum. I don't know how it came out of the public forum, but it did.
2040.
And you'll remember that in the Finance Committee, Councillor Mallett, we had that update on that as a project that's now been picked up with some vigour. And I think it's July, isn't it, that it's the go-live date, irrespective of...
Sorry, okay, we've got...
That's the
He's basically got a
expectation that's
couple of
been
months.
provided to me, Your Worship, yes.
You've got IT people doing it. Never happened.
We're going to use ping pong bats, red and green.
It
didn't
sounds like
say-
bullying to me.
It didn't sound like an IT solution,
All
it
right,
just has to be a solution.
Good.
Okay, and page 8, just there's some estimates there put in for the Founders, possible options for the Founders Theatre. Sean was at a meeting the other night, which reported in the Times, and suggesting that those figures may be wrong or variable. Is there? And I appreciate these are the minutes, and this is what we're told, so it's a true reflection.
That's right.
But should we be updated or?
No, so I think, Councillor Mallett, the resolution that's been made on Founders Theatre is that we're going to have a comprehensive report back in July, and I suggest that you park those questions at that time. But rest assured that as they have been raised at public meetings, my expectation is that the report will be covering all that all.
Yeah, okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
All right. Any others? Yes.
Yes, the item in confidential C2 local alcohol plan.
Sorry,
Just give us some
sorry, where is it?
procedural advice whether I should just query whether they should come into the public when we actually about to go into public
All right.
excluded. What
Yep.
would that be the right time to do that?
Yes, it certainly wouldn't be now.
Yeah,
No.
okay, be questioned. So I just give notice that I'll be raising
Okay.
that issue then.
Right, any other questions?
Sorry, just one other question. Page 17, this is the vote on the Rivoli Theatre. I'm pretty sure I dissented too. Well, certainly was against it. Maybe I left or something like that, but I thought I had voted against that one. So it's just got Councillor King dissenting there. I think I did as well.
Councillor, I'll check our records because
Okay,
we do
thank
have
you.
a written one.
Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to make a note that page 17, item 13, the voting is checked, and if that has been recorded incorrectly, you will bring it to our attention at the next meeting. Okay, all right. So otherwise, any other issues? Okay, all those in favour? Any against? Okay, thank you. Right, the next item is item 6, and these are the proposed district plan minutes, and I'll move those as a true and correct record. Councillor Toomey is seconding. Any questions? Okay, I'll put that. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Item 7, page 24. Councillor O'Leary, they are yours.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. Just presenting the recommendations that have come from the 3rd of May Strategy and Policy Committee meeting. And I have 2 notes to add. I'll move the item 1, the Age-Friendly Global Network, and just wanted to note that as a result of questions from the committee on the letter from Honourable Minister Maggie Barry, Minister of Senior Citizens. That letter has been received and was circulated to all elected members on the 12th of May, and I'll be including that in the Chair's report for the 7th of June Strategy and Policy Committee so that we can accept that letter. So with that, I'll move.
All right, seconded by Councillor Young. Okay, I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour?
Just query in terms of descriptive minutes. If I recall, and I think it was Councillor McPherson talked around the issue of housing and an expectation that the older persons panel, in terms of this age-friendly global network, will be refocusing its efforts on housing for older Hamiltonians. And I'm not sure if that, again, these are descriptive minutes, so there was discussion. There was quite considerable discussion beyond that. Do I probably pick that up in the minutes of the next SNP? I'm just thinking aloud now. It probably will be.
So these are the
SNP.
recommendations
These are the
coming through.
recommendations. Yeah,
Yes,
sure.
so
You're
my suggestion
right.
is you
Actually,
park
fine,
that
I
one.
withdraw that. I'll raise that at SNP
Right.
and just make sure that that's covered there.
All right, so I'm going to
Thank
put these that motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Councillor Mallett's against. Just councillors against, sorry. The board, of course, is not working.
Aye, all.
Right.
He's ignoring me now, of course, isn't he? Because I'm going on about it all the time.
Warehouses over there.
The warehouse has got one. There we go. Okay, second one, Councillor O'Leary, that's yours as well?
Yes, I'll move that the Business Improvement District Policy Review be adopted, and of course that was with minor changes, and also Calvin has an update on some of the questions that were asked at that meeting as well.
Right, so Councillor, can those questions be answered at your committee meeting when the minutes are approved?
Yes, they probably could, yeah.
I think that's
They may
probably-
raise further questions, but
Yes,
yeah.
so I think that's probably the appropriate time.
Yep, that's fine.
So Councillor Pascoe, you seconding that, are you? Okay.
Yes.
All right, so I'll put that. All those in favour?
Aye.
Any against? Councillor Mallett against? Okay, thank you very much. Item 8. This is the Wairere Drive, Huntington Drive matter, page 25. Welcome along, General Manager Chris Allen.
Thank you,
And
Your Worship.
Robin. Hello, Robin.
Good afternoon.
So look, councillors, I'd like to take the report as read, but I just wanted to summarise the situation as we've presented it to council and then answer any questions. So I have Robin Denton with me, a City Transport Operations Manager, who has a significant experience in traffic safety and has been on this project from the beginning. I also have the OPIS report writers, Mike and Sheree, in the audience
Oh,
if there's
great,
any
thank
technical
you.
questions.
So, sorry, could you just identify yourselves? Sorry. Oh, great. Look, thanks for coming along. I did wonder whether you would be here. Thank you.
So look, I'd firstly like to say that I think there are more points of agreement with the residents group than disagreement, and only one point of disagreement, which I'll come to. Look, I would encourage councillors to consider the recommendations I've made, as I believe they support the wishes of the Huntington community. But I wanted to start just with the long-term solutions for the Huntington community and the first point of agreement. That is that we agree that the current intersection arrangements will not be suitable for the long term and that changes are required. The issue is a matter of timing when they're made rather than if they're made. So to help us with the next 10-year plan, 2018-28, and discussions on timing and priority and scope, as part of this process we commissioned an options scoping report from Grey Matter earlier this year. So this report has concluded that the need for four-laning of the corridor is at least 15 years away, and that our 30-year infrastructure strategy timing of 2036 to 2038 appears appropriate. The report has also looked at the types of options that would be considered for the long term. So these is really important information for us so we can understand costs and types of intersections. So when we come to the 10-year plan, that we've got the information ready for council. Talking a little bit against the Grey Matter report, we also, and Justin alluded to it, we think that the traffic volumes are increasing quicker than what the traffic modelling is showing and what ACOM, what Grey Matter showed in their report. So there is work happening at the moment, and it's all related to our growth rate and our land use. They're all inputs to the model, so in the next year they're all being updated and we'll have more accurate information. But I think the community is right that the traffic at this point in time is a little bit higher than what was predicted. So the scoping report has identified that a more permanent fix will be in the order of $5 million as we develop a really good intersection. The second point of agreement, I believe, with the community is that there is a current crash problem at this intersection and that we all want to address it. Look, we have looked at the types of crashes which are occurring in the report on page 25 to 27. Sorry, probably a different page number now.
28.
28 goes into quite a bit of detail about those crashes. Most of those crashes are associated with the left turn into the intersection. So we believe that with 2 lanes of eastbound traffic coming towards cars waiting to turn right out of the intersection, the cars in the left or the closest turning lane are masking the cars in the outside lane. I don't think there's much disagreement with that, and the solution is to the current crash problem is to better manage the left turn slip lane into Huntington West. So the report has looked at a number of options to do this, and the option we're proposing in the recommendation is the option that Opus come up with in their report, which is alternative option 1, and you can see that diagram at the end of paragraph 46. So look, this work fits within the previous decision of council to undertake minor safety management measures. Our recommendation and strong recommendation is to immediately implement this option. Importantly for the community, it does not preclude other options for right turners, including the options that the residents are promoting. So our proposal is that we get on and fix a left turn. It will not preclude the residents' options are being delivered at a point in time. The third point that we have acknowledged is the desire of the residents group and the petitioners in particular to have a safe right turnout facility. So clearly the safest option would be to make the intersection a no right turn facility, left in, left out. We'd have to be really careful about migration of crashes to other intersections and understand that. But we understand that option doesn't meet the wishes of the community. And so the option we've put forward retains the right turn out facility at the moment, and we're happy to recommend that. We think an appropriate strategy is to fix the current crash problem associated with the left turn first, and to do that straight away. If we do that, there's no evidence at this point in time to suggest that cars turning right out of the intersection are currently being hit from the left. And we have no indication that the current arrangement is not working. It's a very standard arrangement. You can look around the city and see the arrangement in many places, and to name a few, Tarapa Road, Thomas Road, you know, they're 60k and 50k roads, I think. In an 80k environment, you can go and look at the Silverdale and Martangi Road intersections. It's a very similar arrangement. So look, there are obligations on drivers to make safe decisions, and already a lot of drivers are turning left out of this intersection and either hook turning at the next intersection or travelling to the Cosbury Road roundabout. We acknowledge that these movements are not desirable, but the drivers do have the option to do what they think is safe. So look, this brings us to the one point of disagreement, I believe. The residents group believe that a seagull type right turn out treatment will be safer than the current right turn out. We've looked at this really carefully, and I have to say at this point in time we don't agree with that. Please note that I have carefully used the words at this point in time, so we are not saying as a team that we rule out the residents' option. We're just saying that the evidence that we have at this point in time indicates to us that we would be introducing safety risk and introducing a crash risk problem to that intersection. It's our current view that if we implement it, there will possibly be crashes which wouldn't happen now. So we have considered the residents group's view, however, and we also note that NZTA have commenced a research project to identify features of priority intersections incorporating seagull layouts. So that research is underway. We are told that the draft reports may be available in July. Quite importantly, that research will include some work on crash prediction models, i.e. what is likely to be a crash problem if you introduce components of a seagull. Now the residents intersection, there's some debate whether it's a seagull or not a seagull. Our point is it is...
An albatross.
Yes, that's right.
Well, it is an albatross, which is a seagull when you haven't really got a seagull. Other names for that as well. Yeah. But the fact is that people will perceive it and see it acting like a seagull with that fast merge lane into the incoming traffic. So we think that the NZTA project is very relevant to this situation, and we've said all the way through the process with the residents group we'd be prepared to review their option, but with the benefit of this research, which is not that far away. So our recommendation C in front of Council there reconfirms that commitment. The only other point I'd make is that as we move forward, the respective teams looking at this are working on concept designs of the intersection which don't have a lot of detail. So there may be some benefit at the right point in time, depending on the NZTA research, that we take the residents' design to the next stage, which is a preliminary design. So that will give a lot more information for traffic experts to look at and make those predictions and assess whether that intersection will be safe. Look, I cannot sit here and recommend a solution to council which I think has got the risk of not being safe or being less safe than what exists now. Look, our final resolution to council is to develop our thinking based around my recommendations to council and bring this to an open day for the entire Huntington community, so we can be very clear and open and transparent about what we're doing for all 700 residents in the Huntington community. I would like to, just to finish off, to emphasise our strong recommendation to address the left turn crash problem. We found out very late last night that there was another crash in Huntington last night. It was a crash at the next intersection, the Huntington East intersection. We've spoken to the police, and it's not for us to speculate for reasons for the crash, but the facts that we have available is that the crash occurred at 4:30 last night in torrential rain. It involved an inexperienced driver turning right out of Huntington East, once again being hit from traffic to the right, or eastbound traffic. So, sorry, I'm repeating the information that we got from the police last night. As I say, it only happened last night, and we wait for the police report, so we got the facts in front of us. But the point I'm making, I think the crash reinforces to me the importance of our recommendation B to immediately undertake the left turn lane improvements. We have a crash problem there at this intersection. That crash could have been at this intersection last night. We've delayed the work for too long while we're trying to reach agreement on all aspects of this intersection. Like, I've asked our transport team to implement temporary traffic management measures at the Huntington West intersection to simulate the fix that we propose for the left turn, to manage the safety of this intersection in the interim. So I'm happy to answer any questions, Your Worship and councillors, on the report.
Okay, can I just ask you, in order to implement the immediate safety issue of the left turn, is that good to go? Are you ready to do that work?
So two things there. One is the traffic management measures, which I've asked the team to implement. So that'll be cones or safe hits or something.
Yeah.
We are ready to go. We've done a lot of work on the left turn slip lane. So remembering it's still that concept design which we've got to turn into a full design. Our procedures and part of getting funding from NZTA is we've got safety auditing procedures to go. So there's a whole nother layer of detail in terms of the design, and then looking at the exact widths of the median and everything and safety auditing. 2 to 3 months.
2 to 3 months. Okay. So it isn't. It's something that could.
It's something that we could implement now. We've got some unknowns to us that we're trying to work through, like services, etc., but all manageable.
That's the time frame. Okay. Right. Great. Okay. So I've got Councillor McPherson and Councillor Pascoe, just in terms of questions on the report.
Yeah. Chris, in terms of the question before from Councillor Forsyth about the experience of the residents in the area and traffic sort of side of things, you've often said, have you not, that there's at least 50,000 traffic engineers in Hamilton, and with the point being not just to make a joke, but that people's experience is important on their particular routes that they travel?
Yep, and I 100% support that, Councillor. Like, I think we're all road users, we all experience the difficulties of driving, and we've all got a valid point on what's safe and what's not safe. I think there is still a point, though, for expert traffic opinion when it comes to something which is a bit unusual, and we're looking at predicting crashes, etc. So I think there's definitely a place for the lay view, and I've always said, Councillor, that there's 140,000 traffic engineers and the 12 best ones.
Some of them are too young for licences.
Yeah, so look, absolutely, we listen to people and their experiences in using the network.
Okay, and so some of those expert views you just talked about before.
Here you go.
One of them being that traffic increase wasn't going to be causing the need for four laning for another, 15 to 30 years or something in that range, and you yourself were showing doubts about that. Isn't that part of Wairere Drive going to be carrying a lot of traffic to and from the motorway in the very near future, 2019-20 starting?
Yep, so that's some of the work that we'll do with the model now, and
so
just retest what's the model.
Not know that?
The expert has used the information from the current model. My statement is that we're currently reviewing the model. The big input to the model is what growth rates you assume and what land use settlement patterns. So the model has been reviewed and updated at the moment.
Haven't those models, traffic models that NZTA and the council have been using in the north of the city for the last 17, 18 years been proven to be out of date far quicker than take over by the base anywhere along Wairere Drive, proven to be out of date far quicker than was imagined?
Models are only a tool that present a point of view. So models will always be wrong. The point is to try and make them as accurate as possible and calibrate them and keep updating. But they are a tool, the same as our wastewater model. It's only a tool, and there's a lot of variables and a lot of inputs.
I didn't want to go into wastewater, but we can later if you'd like. There's a large growth in traffic coming in and out of the city along Gordonton Road to that intersection up east of here as well, isn't there? Considerable growth both from our suburbs and from further afield. And one of the issues is Darjon Drive exit from this area has been causing problems for some years and causing a number of complaints.
Look, I agree with that, and I think as a council we're seeing that the growth over the last few years has been phenomenal. So things are growing a heck of a lot quicker than we all thought, even at the last 10-year plan. The work that we've done with grey matter has looked at the whole Huntington precinct, so that includes the Huntington Drive intersections and Darjon, and I imagine as we go forward it will be a very comprehensive project to work with the community on the whole precinct issue, including all the intersections and how you get in and out of Huntington,
so the things,
including Darjon.
Things that Alistair Gray might be saying needn't be done for 15 years might be more like 5 years, given them when the motorway comes on stream?
Well, that's what we'll be assessing in the point leading up to 2018 10-year plan. Things are growing quicker, as we all know, than what we thought 5 years ago. So is it sustainable?
They're already growing quicker now. We can't, waiting until 2018 is half the time before we're going to need them, perhaps. So wouldn't it be good to the design that we're going to go ahead with now, even if it's staged because you want to do the left turn in quickly, wouldn't it be better to have the design that's going to be fit for purpose and a bit longer into the future rather than the short-term one?
But I guess council's vehicle for deciding what projects to do is the 10-year plan. So the 10-year plan is the right time to make a decision on a $5 million project.
Isn't another vehicle safety though? Surely, I mean, no one's saying you've deliberately set the situation up, Chris, but there's clearly a growing safety problem and a potential further growing one we can see not very far away on the horizon. So, I mean, you could come to us with a longer term solution and say, well, there's not enough money in the budget, council, will you give more? That's been done for Founders Theatre at the moment.
I could come to council with quite a lot of intersections that could have an upgrade because of the traffic growth. I guess what we're dealing with here are two things. One is an actual crash problem, and one is the new approach that is taken as the high-risk intersection guide. So we do look at all of our intersections, we look at the risk, and we prioritise through that.
But Chris, so we knew this intersection was going to be a problem back when we were, before Wairere Drive was extended past Huntington West intersection. That was a temporary measure right back then. I can recall discussions about that. It was temporary, and when we put in Wairere Drive, we were supposed to make it fit for purpose at the time.
Look, I don't think I'm disagreeing with you, Councillor. I've said that there's a limited life for the intersection layout we've got. Will come a point in time where we have to do it. You see the words I've used in the report are quite carefully chosen to say that we should give it a priority consideration for the 2018. I've started preparing for that by commissioning the grey matter report to look at options, so I can start preparing costings and scopings to bring to council for consideration at the next 10-year plan.
But you're already saying that's out of date before we've got it.
Yeah, but I'm still saying as well that we've got the plans we've got in front of you will manage the crash problem at the moment, and it will manage it through to the period of the 10-year plan debate.
All right, so
I just want to, on the crash issue itself, you've said most of the crashes are to do with the left turn in.
Yeah.
There, what's the proportion between them and the ones coming from the other side of Wairere Drive?
Look, I think from memory it was about 80% is the figure I recall for crashes from there, but I think there's a U-turn crash, so I don't recall that there's any crashes from the other side. I think there was a U-turn crash.
There's one U-turn, one right turn in, and then the rest of the crashes, 7 were the one that we're aiming to address.
What about the residents' complaint about sight lines, you know, being blocked with your proposed new layout for the right turn out, with cars that come halfway out, stop, waiting for access to the traffic, blocking views of eastbound traffic?
So that happens at a number of intersections in the city where people choose to do the two-stage movement, but I guess the onus is on the right-turning person to not move until the way is clear.
And don't we have a seagull situation like this at the Grey Cobham Street intersection, or at least one that was designed by council some years ago? That's an 80k zone.
Yep, it was actually designed by Transit New Zealand.
Was that when
councillor.
you were working for them?
It was, and I put that seagull treatment in, and it turned into one of our biggest crash problems in the city, and it was part of it was ripped out 2 years later. So look, I'm very cautious about seagull intersections. If they're well designed.
Or any expert opinion.
all right, okay, thank you, Councillor McPherson. So now Councillor Pascoe.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. First question is around the Opus report. The residents state in their response that they don't accept the Opus report was truly independent and unbiased, as we have information that the council also had dialogue which has influenced the written report, and they continue on with that. In para 40, Chris, you state in para 40 it was agreed the independent transport experts, Opus International, would be engaged. When you say it was agreed, was that agreement between the resident group and council to engage Opus?
To be fair, we probably agreed with the residents group because they were having trouble with our advice. We agreed that we would get an independent expert in to do a safety audit and option selection, but we probably chose Opus for their school rather than agreeing that with the community. I think that's right. Yeah.
The next paragraph then says that to satisfy the resident group on the issue of predetermination and influence, the resident groups were given direct access to Opus to set out their concerns, and a process was set up and so forth. Obviously, we've got Opus people here today. Is there evidence to suggest that the residents' concerns were considered by Opus and those concerns were considered and addressed in the recommendations that Opus has made? And maybe it's Opus.
I think to be honest, that's a question for Opus. So I just wonder if perhaps one of those, who's the lead on this, could perhaps join Chris and Robin. Who's the lead? Right, can you come up here? Yeah, if you might want to bring your chair up, because I suspect there might be some other questions for you. So I think the question is around your independent engagement with the residents group.
Yeah.
Can you speak in the mic, thanks?
Okay. Yeah, afternoon, my name is Mike Meister. I was the reviewer of the project. Sheree was our author. I can categorically state that we were totally independent from the HCC perspective. We'd prepared the report on the evidence that was before us. We undertook excellent analysis approach in this section. We're aware of the residents' concerns regarding the right turnout. As you've heard before, the residents' right turnout hasn't shown up as an excellent problem on the records that we're aware of.
Did you meet with the residents and hear their concerns?
I haven't met with the residents personally. I was just a reviewer. Sheree.
Sorry, did you meet with the residents?
Yes, myself and Keith Loyce.
Okay.
So the two authors of the report just have agreed or admitted that they have met with the residents.
Yes.
So we're aware of the concerns.
Right. Okay.
Okay, that was my question, and thank you, I've got the answer. The next question
You could
is...
just stay there, thanks, because I
Yeah.
suspect there may be other questions.
The next question isn't in respect to the Opus report. It's on para 53, where you state that NZTA is currently undertaking a research project on seagull operation intersections. Chris, have you got any idea as to when this report from NZTA, I'm looking at timing here.
I think you said draft in July.
Yeah, our information is that the draft will be available in July. I'm just aware from our speed management discussions that we thought a draft would be available and it took a little bit longer. So I think in discussions with Councillor Young, I've indicated maybe December, but I'm still very hopeful that there would be something useful and that could be shared with us in July, maybe August. So July is the month that they've told Robin. Yep.
Thank you.
All right, I've got Councillor Forsyth.
Thank you. And I was actually going to ask a similar question to Councillor Pascoe, because it does concern me that this comment is saying that the advice from Opus was questioning whether it was independent and unbiased. So I'm pleased we've been able to hear from Opus consultants directly that it was independent.
Yes, it was independent.
And unbiased, thank you. Look, I do have a question around the cost thus far to this matter, and I don't really have a sense of what that cost is. You know, Chris, I wonder if you could answer that question for me. And I'll come to that question later.
So, probably in addition to staff time, the cost of the Opus report is somewhere is in the order of $7,500. The grey matter, the grey matter report, which I've had commissioned, which is more about our traffic management planning and getting ready for the 10-year plan and the long-term options, has cost us about $10,000.
And staff time on top of that?
Staff time on top of that.
Okay, I just wanted to have a sense of that because I noticed in the piece of paper in front of me that there's a sum of $300,000 mentioned there, and there was no such sum or no quantum actually referred to in your recommendation, the staff recommendation.
Yeah, sorry, councillors, I'm working on the basis of the previous report to council where the limit for minor safety works where we can go and get a subsidy from NZTA of about 50% is a $300,000 project.
Okay.
So our indication is the work that we're proposing at this time would fit within that $300,000.
Okay, thank you. And again, I'm just trying to get my head around how many reports we've got and how many independent reports we've got and how many more we need to get. So there's the original Opus report, and then there's an ACOM report, is that correct?
Oh, sorry, I missed the ACOM report. So when we, a normal process for us in looking at intersections and crash problems is to do what we call a crash reduction study. So ACOM in the early stages did a crash reduction study for us, and that's a very narrow focus report just to look at all of the crashes and the types of crashes and come up with recommendations. We use that to come to council last time with our recommendations. When council said to go away and talk to the community about the minor options, we got to a point where the community had different views than my team in terms of what the right option was. So that's when we commissioned Opus. So it was a different type of report, the Opus report. It was what we call a safety a mixture of a safety audit report, which is a stage that we have to go through to develop a project, but we put in an option assessment component to that as well, where we asked them to look at all the options and to do some comparison across all the options. And as I've said, the other report, the grey matter report, is something that we would normally do as we're scoping up long-term options for that.
Okay, so the independent auditor's report, so I'm just talking about paragraph 10, is that another report?
No, sorry, that's the Opus report.
Oh, okay. you. Look, sort of going back to the residents' document that I've got in front of me, and having taken into account the request for the lining up of vehicles rather than the 30-degree angle. I mean, everyone's an expert, as you've said, Chris. I mean, I do have a difference of opinion with that, because
what's your question,
on my way home, well, I just wondered, thank you, what your comment or what Opus's comment would be around the 110%, sorry, the stacking up of vehicles as opposed to the 30-degree angle, and why you sit with the 30-degree angle recommendation.
I might ask Mike to answer that one.
So you're looking at page 34 and the
No,
Opus
I'm looking at the
alternative-
residents' report.
Ah, right. But the diagram on that is that the Opus alternate option 1, isn't it?
So if I can help you, Bishop, I think the question is, if you look on page 31 with our recommended option, there's a car turning right out there, which is at 30 degrees, as opposed to the residence option where the car would be sitting parallel.
Yes.
And the difference in safety associated with looking for a gap.
Yes, if you could explain the difference, because I take the 30-degree option when I go home, and it works quite well. We all sit there on an angle, and it's actually easy to see the traffic coming. And I'm thinking, if I've got to turn around and be parallel, I'd actually be really struggling to turn around and see what's going on.
That's correct. Our preference is to have the vehicles in the middle. If you have to stop in the middle of a median strip, as per the diagram, we prefer you to be between 90 degrees and 30 degrees. So you're looking over your shoulder across the elderly people have a lot more difficulty turning their heads around, and there's a lot of studies to demonstrate that. But the other prime reason that we prefer it is that when you're looking on the approaching traffic, you can see 3 parts of the vehicle. You see the 2 corners and the rear of the vehicle. That makes it a lot easier for drivers to judge the speed of the oncoming vehicles. When you're in a parallel parking lane, you're relying on your revision mirrors to see that vehicle, and it's a lot more difficult to justify that speed of the approach vehicle.
Right.
So there has been some studies around to do that. I haven't got those studies at hand, but that is also another reason for us to promote the angle. Verticals, I mean, the safest movement is to do the complete movement of one go. But sometimes you can't do that, and you take a gap on one side, then a gap on the other side. This is what we believe is better. We don't want stacking vehicles in the middle queued up. We only want one vehicle to be doing it. When you get multiple vehicles, you get difficult which vehicle is going to jump out first, and that creates another set of problems. The drivers on the through route don't understand exactly what's happening in front of them, so they become apprehensive. So you introduce a whole lot of potential risk areas, which at the moment we believe our option does not promote.
Right.
Thank you. I understand that. One more question, and I do, as I said, I experience that it's about every day going home, so I do understand what you're talking about. Just confused a little bit around the wording. So I've got an alternative option and an option 1 Opus alternative option 2. So I'm just not quite sure which option 1 it is that we're talking about.
So, Councillor, if you probably go to page 33 there.
Yes, it's got option 1 Opus alternative option 2.
If you look at the very first one, option 1, which is the left turn in, left turn out.
Yes. So
that was Opus's alternative option 2. So the background for that is we knew that the residents didn't want a left in, left turn out, so we didn't ask for that option to be assessed, but Opus, in their independent role, felt it was appropriate to put it in and make comment on that, because it's undoubtedly the safest if you're just looking at a safety perspective. So they put it in as alternative option 2, so sorry about that confusion. But
so the actual option 1 that we're talking about here...
The option we're promoting is alternative option 1 on page 34, or it's in the body of the report under paragraph 46, just above paragraph 47.
I think page 34 is the easiest one to look at, to be honest, because it's got the Opus recommended one and then the residents modified seagull one that they're promoting. So can I just ask you some questions from Opus? So despite what you're saying, based on your expertise about the option you're promoting with the angled car in the middle, I'm assuming you've discussed that then with the residents, or?
No, I haven't.
No, okay.
They were part of the report, the draft report,
Yeah, so the draft report was sent though to the residents and they've given the comments back on that, so they're not accepting your expertise in this. I've got that right, aren't I?
That's my understanding, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. All right. Councillor Young, did you have some questions?
Yes.
Or?
While we're still looking at that diagram, the alternative option 1, with that car stacked in the middle in a 30-degree angle, it mentions slightly reduction in central solid median. Is that right? Just to shorten it and increase the space, right?
Yes, it was just to give a bit more length, so if you had a longer vehicle, there's a bit more room to park on that angle, yes.
So currently, drivers already doing that, park in the middle, waiting for the next maneuver. So if you increase the area, would that inviting drivers to stack up more than one car?
It may do,
But that would block the view, definitely, no matter using whatever way.
Yes.
Yeah?
The vehicle parks in the middle.
If there's two cars, so the first car cannot see the road.
Yeah, that would be a problem.
Okay. Also, the red car, I know that we've been talking, or people have been talking about removing that right turn into Huntington. So what is your view on that, if we just eliminate that turn?
I've got no problem with taking that right turn out. If the vehicles move to the roundabout, it would be safe.
Yep. Because you're looking at the vehicles in the middle, when it's looking to the red car, well, a small car is all right, but what if a bus or a truck, actually you will block the view, right?
Agreed, yes.
So removing that right turn is a safer option. Remove a risk from that, right? One of the risks.
Yeah, in terms of vehicles, the right turn vehicles coming out, if there's no right turn bay there, it's just one less vehicle for that person to give way to.
Yeah, okay.
So we're not disputing that. What we are in disagreement about is a parallel lane for the right turn out to sit in and then move across. That's the issue that we have from a safety perspective. If the residents are happy to ban the right turn and move down the road and do a right turn at the roundabout, that we don't see a safety problem with that.
Because that's the Huntington Drive East vehicle coming from the Gordonton roundabout, they can go into Huntington without any problem. Or further down roundabout, come back, right?
Yes, agreed.
Yeah. And also about the report is basically only looking at the Wairere Drive intersection improvement safety assessment. There's nothing else, only for this intersection, right?
Agreed, that was the commission.
So to Chris, has there been any other research or done by like roundabout or further future improvement about Wairere Drive Huntington sections? Has there been anything done yet?
So that would be the grey matter report that I referred to. So we did commission a report from ACOM to look at the potential future options. Look, it's important to note that that hasn't been in consultation with the community. I think the community may have seen the report, but it wasn't done as a consultative exercise, but it was to look at roundabouts, traffic signals, left in, left out, and look at the suite of options that would be available. And as I said, that's important information for us to take forward to the 10-year plan and our recommendations to council.
And you reckon there will be another one to be done in the future? Would that be? When it's going to be 4 lanes or the motorway open, you're looking that there might be another?
So clearly, in my view, if you wanted to upgrade this to 4 lanes, you'd need a different intersection layout. It may be for the safety reasons we've talked about that a different intersection layout is required before 4 lanings as well. So the report has looked at those options, and the recommended option it has there, and I just make the note again that it hasn't been through a consultation process, is a large roundabout at the Huntington East and turning this intersection into left in, left out. But I just reinforce the point that it needs a lot of consultation with the community and the catchment of Huntington to look at Darjong and look at the whole catchment and have good engagement with the community of what the best option is. But there are a number of options there.
Okay, thanks.
All right, I don't have any other... Oh, sorry, Councillor Tooman.
Thank you. Looking at the traffic crash data, which is shown as attachment 2, I noticed there, which follows on from page 56, all these crashes have occurred as a result of eastbound traffic travelling along Wairere Drive and a vehicle exiting out of Huntington Drive, with the exception, of course, of the truck which was making the U-turn. The safest what would you believe would be the safest option to exit the intersection? Maybe to Robin or Chris or Mike, whatever.
So look, I think the Opus report, in our view, if it's just on safety, it would be left in, left out. If you remove the right turn movements, you remove quite a bit of risk there. But as I say, I think that's where we've tried to work with the community and acknowledge the importance they place in a right turn out and how to make that as safe as possible.
So would it be fair then to say that the community have put expediency above safety?
I guess that's your view, Councillor, yep.
Okay. When I see the report there, which is from a Huntington community response, and this is probably for you, Mike, they refer to the SIDRA analysis. My understanding of that is that that really only applies to multi-lane roads with traffic signals. Would that be correct?
No. No. I think there's a software program that's used to analyse any intersection, but it only deals with the traffic delays and the capacity. It's got nothing to do with safety.
No, I'm saying it's basically on a multi-lane road with traffic signals. Is that correct?
No. Yeah, you're right.
It's a SIDRA. It's a SIDRA software program. It can be used for priority controlled intersections, roundabouts, and traffic signals on single lanes and multi-lanes.
Okay.
But it is a tool used purposely to work out the traffic capacity of an intersection and the expected traffic delays. Yep. It's got no functionality within it to assess traffic accidents.
So really it wouldn't apply to this particular intersection?
No.
Okay.
No in terms of the safety. So it may do in terms of understanding the delays that people may take to use the intersection.
Okay. For the period from the 10th of August 2011 through till, well, last night now, I understand, there's been a total of 14 crashes in the five-year period. Does this actually create a black spot?
So Chris, is that your view?
I'm not current with the definition of a black spot now. I think the whole way of assessing the safety intersections has changed, and we have a high-risk intersection guideline now, which came out in 2013. I think the current crash problem now define this intersection as a high-risk intersection. If I contrast that to the Hamilton East, prior to the crash last night, and I don't know what that does, it's not a high crash risk intersection. Mm-hmm. So I think and I'll get corrected if I'm wrong, but I think the system accepts that there may be some crashes at intersections. It's when it gets to a certain point where it might move to a high risk intersection. So these people are probably better placed than me.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So I guess Councillor Tobin.
And the mic, thanks. Robin?
Under the old terminology, yes, it would be now a black spot, but that's not terminology that we now use.
Right, okay.
Looking at the option which is shown as Opus Alternative Option 1, which is what we've basically been talking about.
Page 34.
Page 34, yes. Mike, you said you'd be quite relaxed about the removal of the right-hand turn from Wairere Drive onto Huntington. I think
there may be a bit of exaggeration, but yes, if the right turn was banned,
yep,
it may improve the visibility for the right turns out.
Sure.
When there's traffic movement to give way to.
Okay. Yeah. The other option there, where you've got a slip lane which goes from Wairere Drive, a left turn into Huntington, if we did away with that slip lane, that would have the effect of actually reducing the speed when somebody was making a left-hand turn into Huntington, would it not? In other words, do a do away with the slip lane so that people have to slow down to make a 90-degree turn into Huntington. And I appreciate that that may cause a nose to tail and that sort of stuff, but a nose to tail crash will do a lot less damage to the person than would a T-bone type crash, which we're getting at the present time.
Yep, except that there is a risk obviously of the rear end accidents, which are also fairly severe, and so the high entry angle that we've come up with means that you slow down as late as possible without creating a problem on the Wairere Drive for following vehicles, but still removing the masking effect that we're trying to eliminate to remove the current accident problem. Okay.
And just on that,
Right.
because Wairere Drive is a main arterial route around the city, and it's got, what, it's at 80k along there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's got to be factored in, right, to your thought pattern?
Agreed. Yeah.
Because that road's been developed to enable a proper flow of traffic on a network across the city.
Correct.
Yeah.
But on page 31, it says here that the average speed in that block is mid-60s.
Everyone? Oh,
Yeah, is that in-
that's the report, in the report.
Page 31, paragraph 57. Travel speed is 50, in the mid-60s.
See the Opus report.
Yeah, we're just finding that now. Now, I understand that the flows that were, the traffic volumes, sorry, the traffic speeds that were presented, and that at the time, the residents group has brought to our attention that there were gardening works in effect on that day.
Yeah.
And so there were cones out, so it's possible that those speeds have been affected through that maintenance work. It is an 80k road. There will be times during peak traffic when the flows are lower, but it is still a relatively high-speed environment on the through road.
But I understand that the travel speeds were monitored over a period of a week.
Correct.
So therefore, a nose-to-tail type crash would not actually do as much damage to the person's body as would a T-bone type crash, which is the prevalent one at this on here.
Agreed.
Yep. Okay, thank you.
All right, so councillor Young has said that he's got a motion to move,
Yes.
which is similar to the staff one, but has a bit more in it, so can we just put that up? And I think councillor Pascoe is the seconder of that.
I would signal an amendment.
Right, thank you, and we're going to have an amendment as well. What's your amendment, Deputy Mayor?
The amendment would be to proceed with the residence option 4.
So is that, how does that work into the full motion? What do you want? How do you want that written?
Well, it would be that the report be received and that staff be requested to move forward on the residence group option 4.
Right, and does it also include making the, because as I understand it,
Working group.
so just let me
So
check this.
avoiding the working group.
Yes, so just let me just check with the general manager here. So there's a budget issue on that, is there not?
Just trying to understand.
If option 4, the amendment is about to proceed with option, the residence option.
So, look, I'd have, that's my comment on that option. I'd have two concerns with that. One is we have a current crash problem. Which
Point of order, Madam
No.
Chair. Wasn't your question to the General Manager what the cost, whether that would fit within the cost, not a speech against the actual amendment before you've even had the technical point answered?
No, what I said was, isn't there a cost issue on that?
Yes.
Yeah.
And
So-
we're getting a technical and safety argument
You
now.
know, I'm, Councillor McPherson, I'm very happy for the General Manager to provide council with some information on this.
Or could we give them a vote as well then, and be done with it?
So, General Manager, can you just, have you got any comments on that? Councillors need to understand what the amendment might mean in terms of implementation.
That wasn't your question, though.
Yep. We haven't fully costed option 4, so we would, to pursue that, we would have to come back to council after we've done a little bit more work on costing.
Right, okay, does that,
Yeah, look, if it were to be over 300,000, that is the wise thing to do.
right, so how do you want that?
Well, that the staff are requested to move forward on the residence option, and if the costs are in excess of 300,000, to report back to council.
Okay, thank you. So we just want to get the amendment correct in terms of wording. Because we've had plenty of examples in the history of this council where the wording's been unhelpful.
Should the costings exceed 300,000? That's fine.
Okay, so that's the
I
amendment.
haven't got a seconder.
Is there a seconder for that amendment? Councillor McPherson is the seconder. Did you have a clarifying question, Councillor Mallet?
Just the staff report back. Surely we don't want them to do the work if it goes above report back and stop the work.
No,
Well-
no, that'd be silly.
Yeah, well, it doesn't say that though. It just says, oh, by the way, we did it and we're reporting back now that it's $1 million. So,
Well, I just assume that between B, which is to moving forward, is getting the costings, not digging the holes.
okay, that's not what
And
it says
C
though, is
would
it?
be the logical moving forward. If the costs are in excess of 300,000, it does need to come back to council.
So in fact, you want staff to present
So
to
what I'm going to do here, I'm not going to have people toing and froing and sorting out the words. So we're going to take a 5-minute break while you sort out the wording. And please talk to the General Manager about that wording, because he is the person that would have to action it if it is passed.